I still remember the day I received the letter, dated 20 years ago. It was an invitation to visit the abandoned research facility on the outskirts of town, rumored to be the site of a clandestine government project codenamed Erebus. The words confidential and top secret were emblazoned across the envelope in bold red ink, like a warning sign for the unwary. I had always been fascinated by the stories surrounding Unit 522, whispers of inhumane experiments and unspeakable horrors that drove those involved to madness. As a journalist, I couldn't resist the opportunity to uncover the truth behind this enigmatic project. The letter arrived at my doorstep on a drizzly autumn evening, its creased envelope bearing the faded logo of Project Erebus. My curiosity piqued. I set out to explore the ruins of Unit 522, driven by a morbid fascination with the darkness that lurked within. The facility loomed before me, its imposing structure a testament to the hubris and ambition of those who once called it home. I felt an unshakable sense of foreboding as I stepped onto the crumbling asphalt, my footsteps echoing through the deserted corridors like a death knell. The air was heavy with the scent of decay and neglect, a noxious miasma that clung to my skin like a shroud. As I ventured deeper into the heart of Unit 522, I couldn't help but wonder what secrets lay hidden behind the cold steel doors, waiting to unleash their horrors upon an unsuspecting world. As I stepped out of my car and onto the overgrown asphalt, a shiver ran down my spine. The once majestic entrance to Unit 522 now stood as a crumbling testament to neglect and abandonment. Weeds pushed through the cracks in the pavement, as if nature itself was attempting to reclaim the facility from the horrors that had once unfolded within its walls. I felt a mix of emotions, excitement at uncovering the truth, yet trepidation at the secrets that lay hidden beneath my feet. The imposing structure loomed before me, its steel facade rusted and scarred, like the visage of a behemoth awakened from a long slumber. As I approached the entrance, the massive metal door creaked ominously in the gentle breeze, as if protesting my presence. A faded sign above the door read, "Project Erebus authorized personnel only." The words seemed almost comical now, a cruel joke played on those who dared to venture into the heart of darkness that had been unleashed within these walls. I pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside, my eyes adjusting slowly to the dim light that filtered through the grimy windows. The air was stale and musty, heavy with the scent of decay and forgotten dreams. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that unblinking eyes were trained upon me from the shadows. My footsteps echoed off the walls as I ventured deeper into the facility, each step taking me further away from the safety of the outside world. The silence was oppressive, a physical presence that pressed upon my chest like a weight. I knew then that I had disturbed something best left buried, and that Unit 522 would not let me go without a fight. As I delved deeper into the facility, I began to notice that something was off. The corridors seemed to twist and turn in ways that didn't make sense, as if they had been designed to confuse and disorient. Every step I took revealed a new anomaly: doors that led to dead ends, rooms filled with dusty equipment that seemed to be collecting dust, and strange symbols etched into the walls. It was as if Unit 522 had been designed to drive its occupants mad, to test their resolve and sanity in ways both physical and psychological. I stumbled upon a room filled with rows of humming machinery, each device emitting a soft blue glow that cast an otherworldly light over the space. The air was thick with the scent of ozone and burning wire, and I could feel the hum of electricity vibrating through my very being. In the center of the room, A massive console dominated the space, its surfaces etched with cryptic symbols that seemed to shift and writhe like living things. I approached cautiously, feeling an inexplicable sense of trepidation as if I was about to unlock a door to a realm best left unexplored. As I reached out to touch the console, a sudden jolt of energy shot through me, making my hair stand on end. The machines fell silent, and an oppressive stillness descended upon the room like a shroud. I knew then that I had stumbled into something much bigger than myself, something that threatened to consume me whole. I began to flip through the dusty files and documents scattered across the console, searching for any clue as to what had transpired within these walls. The further I delved, the more I became convinced that Unit 522 had been a hub of inhumane experimentation, with subjects subjected to unspeakable torments in pursuit of scientific progress. As I scanned through the pages, one particular entry caught my eye: Project Erebus Phase 1, Subject 17. The date stamped on the document was dated several years ago, and a brief summary read: Successful activation of Neurocore Protocol. Subject exhibited increased cognitive function and heightened emotional response to stimuli. I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized that this must have been one of the earliest experiments conducted within Unit 522. The words Neurocore Protocol echoed in my mind, conjuring images of electrodes implanted in the brain, of neural connections being rewired, and of minds being reshaped to conform to some twisted ideal. Suddenly, the room seemed to darken around me, as if the shadows themselves were closing in to whisper secrets in my ear. I stumbled upon a hidden log file, its contents spilling out like a dark confession. The entries detailed the subject's descent into madness, their thoughts and emotions being manipulated by the Neurocore Protocol with disturbing precision. As I read on, a name kept recurring: Subject 17, and it was accompanied by a chilling phrase, the first of many. A shiver ran down my spine as I realized that I had stumbled upon something much more sinister than just an abandoned research project. As I delved deeper into the logs, I began to notice a disturbing trend. The subject's behavior was becoming increasingly erratic, their thoughts and emotions being manipulated with greater precision. It was as if the Neurocore Protocol had awakened a dark presence within them, one that threatened to consume their very souls. I read about Subject 17's descent into madness, how they had been subjected to an endless barrage of stimuli, their minds shattered by the relentless bombardment of information. The logs spoke of sleep deprivation, sensory overload, and psychological manipulation, all designed to break the subject's spirits and reshape them in the image of the experimenter's twisted desires. And yet, despite the cruelty of it all, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was witnessing something profound, something that revealed the true nature of humanity's capacity for both good and evil. The further I read, the more I became convinced that the experimenters had stumbled upon a dark secret, one that threatened to upend everything we thought we knew about human psychology. It was as if they had discovered a hidden doorway to the abyss, and were using it to peer into the very depths of the human mind. And then, suddenly, the logs stopped. The entries became sporadic, the writing becoming increasingly illegible, as if the writer's grip on reality was tenuous at best. I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized that I had stumbled upon something much more sinister than just an abandoned research project. I had uncovered a window into the darkest recesses of the human mind, and what I saw there was not for the faint of heart. As I continued to explore the depths of Unit 522, I stumbled upon a series of disturbing discoveries that left me questioning everything I thought I knew about the facility and its occupants. In one of the rooms, I found a collection of journals belonging to one of the experimenters, detailing their own descent into madness as they became increasingly enthralled with the neurocore protocol. The entries were cryptic, but they spoke of a growing obsession with the project, a sense of purpose that drove the experimenter to push the boundaries of ethics and morality. I also found a series of photographs depicting subjects who had undergone the neurocore procedure, their eyes vacant, their expressions twisted into grotesque grins. The images were haunting, and I couldn't help but wonder what had become of these individuals, whether they still existed or if they had been erased from the world. But it was what I found in the next room that truly shook me to my core. A series of cryogenic pods lined the walls, each one containing a subject who had been frozen in time, their bodies suspended in a state of suspended animation. The labels on the pods read Subject 17, Subject 18, and so on until I reached the final pod, which bore the name Subject X. As I approached the pod, I felt a sense of trepidation, as if I was about to uncover a secret that was meant to remain hidden. And then I saw it. A note scribbled in red ink on the inside of the pod's door. It read, "They're still here. They're still waiting." I stumbled backward, my heart racing with fear. What did it mean? Who or what was being referred to in this cryptic message? And what lay ahead for me, now that I had uncovered this dark and sinister secret? As I delved deeper into the laboratory, I began to uncover the dark secrets that lay hidden within its walls. I found a series of ancient texts, bound in black leather, and adorned with symbols that seemed to shift and writhe like living things. The book spoke of an organization known only as the Consortium, a group of powerful individuals who had been secretly manipulating world events for centuries. According to the texts, the Consortium had been searching for a way to unlock the full potential of the human mind, to push the boundaries of what was thought possible and explore the depths of human psychology. As I read on, I discovered that the neurocore protocol was just one part of a larger project, known as Erebus. Erebus was a plan to create a new breed of super soldiers, individuals who would be capable of withstanding any amount of psychological manipulation and emerge unscathed. The Consortium believed that by unlocking the secrets of the human mind, they could create an army of mind-controlled soldiers, loyal only to them. I also found evidence of a tragic event, one that had driven the laboratory's founders to madness and despair. A group of test subjects, who had been subjected to the neurocore procedure, had begun to exhibit strange behavior, as if they were being controlled by some external force. The experimenters, in their desperation, had turned to dark and sinister methods to try and regain control, ultimately leading to a catastrophic event that had left the laboratory in ruins. As I continued to explore, I stumbled upon a hidden room deep within the laboratory's depths. Inside, I found a series of recordings made by one of the experimenters, detailing their own descent into madness. The recordings spoke of a growing sense of paranoia and desperation, as the experimenter realized that they were playing with forces beyond their control. I also found a series of documents detailing the Consortium's plans for the future. According to these documents, the neurocore protocol was just one part of a larger plan known as the Awakening. The Awakening was a program aimed at awakening humanity to its true potential, but at what cost? I couldn't help but wonder if I had stumbled upon something much bigger than myself, something that threatened the very fabric of society. As I left the laboratory, I felt a sense of unease, as if I was walking away from something that could potentially destroy me. I knew that I had to be careful, that I couldn't let anyone know what I had discovered. But deep down, I knew that I would have to face the consequences, no matter how dire they may seem. As I stood in front of the cryogenic pod, my heart racing with anticipation, I felt a sense of trepidation wash over me. What was I about to witness? I took a deep breath and nodded to myself, steeling myself for what was to come. The pod's lid slid open, revealing the subject inside. They were still frozen in time, their bodies suspended in a state of suspended animation. But as I watched, something strange began to happen. The subject's eyes flickered open and they gazed up at me with an unblinking stare. I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized that I was staring into the face of nothingness. There was no recognition, no spark of consciousness. Just a blank, empty space where humanity once resided. The subject's gaze seemed to bore into my soul, and I felt myself being pulled into its void. I stumbled backward, my mind reeling with the implications of what I was seeing. Was this what it meant to be truly dead? Was this the end of humanity's journey into the abyss? I couldn't look away, transfixed by the horror of it all. The subject's gaze seemed to stretch on forever, a never-ending well of emptiness that threatened to consume me whole. I felt my grip on reality begin to slip, and I knew that I had to get out of there before I lost myself completely. But as I turned to flee, I heard a voice whispering in my ear. "You can't escape," it said. "You're next." As I stood frozen in terror, the subject's gaze seemed to bore deeper into my soul. I felt myself being pulled toward it as if I was being sucked into a vortex of madness. The voice whispered again, its tone dripping with malevolence. "You can't escape." I knew then that I had to confront the unknown, to face the terrifying truth about myself. The subject's eyes seemed to expand, filling my entire field of vision. I felt my mind reeling, as if it was being stretched to its breaking point. The voice grew louder, more insistent. "You're not who you think you are." Suddenly, images began to flash before my eyes, memories that weren't mine, experiences that I had never had, a life that wasn't my own. I felt a sense of disorientation, as if I was losing my grip on reality. The subject's gaze seemed to be the source of it all, drawing me into a world of madness and terror. I knew then that I had to confront the unknown to face the truth about myself. But what did it mean? Was I just a pawn in some sinister game, or was I something more? I took a step forward, my heart pounding in my chest. The subject's gaze never wavered, its empty stare seeming to pierce right through me. I felt a sense of resolve building inside me. I would face whatever lay ahead, no matter how terrifying it might be. "Who am I?" I asked aloud, my voice shaking with fear and uncertainty. The subject's gaze seemed to falter for a moment, its expression shifting ever so slightly. And in that instant, I saw something there that gave me hope, a glimmer of recognition, of understanding. It was as if the subject was looking at me, truly seeing me for the first time. "I am you," it said finally, its voice low and husky. "I am the sum of all your fears, all your doubts, all your darkest nightmares." I felt a shiver run down my spine as I realized the truth. The subject was not just a monster, but a reflection of myself, a manifestation of my deepest fears and insecurities. "But what about the voice?" I asked, my heart still racing with fear. The subject's gaze locked onto mine once more. "That is your own voice," it said, "your own doubts and fears. You are the one who has been whispering in your ear all along." I felt a wave of understanding wash over me. I was not just a victim, but an active participant in my own nightmare. And with that realization came a sense of empowerment. I knew then that I had the power to change my own destiny, to overcome my fears and doubts. The subject's gaze seemed to soften, its expression shifting from malevolence to compassion. "You can escape," it said finally. "You can break free from your own mind." I took a deep breath, feeling a sense of determination building inside me. I knew then that I would face whatever lay ahead, armed with the knowledge that I was not alone, that I had the power to change my own destiny and to overcome even the most terrifying of fears. As I stood there, facing the subject's words of encouragement, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, I felt like I was taking control of my own destiny. The subject's gaze seemed to bore into mine, as if searching for any remaining vestiges of doubt or fear. But I was determined to let go of those things, to break free from the shackles of my own sanity. I took a deep breath, feeling the air fill my lungs like a rebirth, and with that breath I let go of everything. The world around me seemed to tilt and spin, like a carnival ride on steroids. Colors blurred together, sounds grew louder, and the air vibrated with an otherworldly energy. I felt myself lifting off the ground, my feet dangling in midair as if I was floating on a cloud of madness. The subject's gaze seemed to be the anchor that kept me grounded, its steady stare holding me fast like a lifeline. But even that lifeline began to fray, threads snapping and unraveling like a threadbare sweater. I felt myself being pulled apart at the seams, my very fabric of sanity beginning to unravel. The world around me descended into chaos, colors bleeding together in a mad mess of madness. The air was thick with an electric charge, making my skin tingle and prickle like 1,000 needles on a pin cushion. I felt myself screaming, not just out loud, but internally as well. My mind was shattering, fragmenting into a million pieces that scattered across the landscape of my psyche like confetti in a hurricane. The subject's gaze never wavered, its steady stare holding me fast even as I descended into madness. It was as if it knew what was happening, as if it had been waiting for this moment all along. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, everything stopped. The world snapped back into focus, colors realigning themselves like a jigsaw puzzle being reassembled. I felt myself crashing back down to earth, my feet thudding onto the ground with a resounding thud. The subject's gaze slowly released its hold on me, its expression shifting from calm to concerned. "Are you okay?" it asked, its voice laced with worry. I looked around, taking stock of my surroundings. The room was quiet, the only sound the soft hum of machinery in the background. I felt different, changed, like something had shifted inside me, like a door had swung open to reveal a new world. The subject's gaze locked onto mine once more, its expression softening into a gentle smile. "That's okay," it said. "You don't have to be whole to be free." As I stood there trying to process what had just happened, the subject's expression began to change. Its eyes, once empty and blank, now gleamed with an otherworldly light. The skin around its mouth stretched into a twisted grin, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. The subject's body began to contort and twist, its limbs elongating like rubber as it rose from the chair. I stumbled backward, my mind reeling in horror as the subject transformed before my eyes into something monstrous. Its face was no longer human, but a twisted amalgamation of animalistic features, with glowing red eyes that seemed to burn with an inner fire. The air around it rippled and distorted, like the surface of a pond hit by a stone. I felt a wave of terror wash over me, my heart racing in my chest as I realized that the subject was no longer human, but something ancient and evil. The true horror was not what it had said to me, but what it had become. It was a creature from another dimension, one that had been imprisoned for centuries and had now broken free. The subject's eyes locked onto mine, and I felt a jolt of electricity run through my body as it spoke in a voice that was both familiar and yet completely alien. "You should not have come here," it hissed, its words like a cold wind blowing across my skin. "Now you will never leave." As the subject began to move towards me, its monstrous form filling the room with an unspeakable evil, I knew that I was doomed. The last thing I remembered was the sound of my own screams, echoing through the void as the darkness closed in around me. As the darkness closed in around me, I felt my consciousness begin to slip away. The last thing I remembered was the subject's monstrous face looming over me, its eyes burning with an otherworldly hunger. The world went black and I was gone. The next day, a team of investigators found me in the basement of the abandoned asylum, curled up in a ball on the floor. I was catatonic, my mind shattered by what I had experienced. The subject was never found. The asylum was torn down, and the land was sold to a developer who built a new office complex. Years later, a group of urban explorers stumbled upon an old broadcast equipment in the ruins of the asylum. They decided to try and tune into the abandoned radio station. A faint signal crackled to life, playing a loop of static and white noise. Then suddenly, a voice spoke out of the void. This is the last transmission," it said, its voice distorted and haunting. I'm not sure how much longer I'll be able to hold on. The subject has broken free and I'm trapped in this place with no way out." The voice was mine, or at least, a version of me from that moment. It spoke of the horror I had experienced, of the monster that lurked in the shadows, waiting to consume us all. The signal faded away, leaving behind only static and silence. The urban explorers knew they had stumbled upon something sinister, something that threatened to destroy their sanity. They destroyed the equipment, erasing the memory of what they had heard from the world. But the signal was never erased from my mind. I'm writing this now in a secure facility deep beneath the earth. I've been warned not to speak of what happened, but I have to tell someone. Someone has to know. The world is not ready for the truth about the subject and the asylum, but it's too late now. The horror has been unleashed, and nothing will ever be the same again.